So how have you been? Good? Okay. So I was last I'm supposed to be here, then suddenly urgent that I have to travel back to Europe. One of my teacher is 94. So it is getting close. And then he passed away, then I went to the final respect and the ritual ceremony that required. So in tradition we call clear light meditation. So he was basically, there's no change, it looks like sleep, there's no change in his face, there's no smell, and so he was a clear light state of meditation maybe for 5 to 6 days. So and then there's one of his students, nurse, she was helping me, and I asked her like what was the last period, and she was there with him for almost 3 hours right before he was took the last breath. And time to time he will open his eye and look around, and then she will ask, do you need anything? He said, no, I don't need anything, and he will just go back. So there must, basically in a daily meditation, there's this kind of like that process meditation. Basically, you rehearsal the process how it's taking, and usually kind of not get distracted. If sometimes you get distracted, now I'm dying, not going to see. There's another heavy emotion, not to interfere. Somehow with the individual to be able to focus into that process, pay attention, being almost like a mindfulness of the process. And then somehow that attention somehow puts you in the right track into the clear light meditation process. So in that case, basically, usually what's happening is that once it have an interruption by affliction, so once a process have an interruption by fear and so on and so forth, basically individual person not able to kind of pause that clear light, basically that transition from this life to next life. It's almost like a triangle, just kind of like all the consciousness kind of dissolving, functions are kind of like dissolving, and then there's this kind of like, it reached into the fundamental foundation, clear light, which is the foundation of the all awareness. So then, if during this, kind of a descent, I would say descending, there's a lot of turbulence, like the fear and so on and so forth. Basically, individual have not so much time to able to pause or able to abide into that final kind of conjunction between this life to next life is a clear light. So what we call clear light meditation, basically somehow able to descend and land smoothly into the clear light and somehow able to pause into that experience. The more turbulence of a fear and something happens, it has a less chance to abide, so it just kind of like reacts, or it kind of go back to the grosser state of the mind. So anyway, when I asked for like the student, the nurse, she's telling me he will time to time open, like 2 hours before he took the final, he will open his eye and look around, and then she'll ask, do you need anything? He said, no, I don't need anything. So there's a kind of, maybe, he might kind of like recognizing and seeing, okay, now this is the time, and kind of like, I need to organize, I need to prepare, I need to get put together. So, I think that like usually what we feel like, oh, I'm not trained, maybe I have no chance to do that. I need to be trained. I'm kind of like sometimes if we as an individual person, the training mostly required to not so much about the procedures of getting to descend the clear light meditation is not so much. I think the training much more required to not to get caught into the fear and the distraction. That's the kind of like the main thing. The discipline, the ethic, the attention. You kind of recognize you got the cue, and then somehow you're able to kind of, okay, here I need to. Yes, a million ways to fear, but instead of caught into fear, intentionally trying to kind of like setting. Anytime, any day, there's millions of ways to get caught into the fear. So, but so I think if there's some loved ones usually near death that you usually say like really keep alone and make sure you don't stir any kind of strong emotions. So giving opportunity and a condition to not to distract. That's kind of like one of the fundamental things. And same thing like, for example, when we going to sleep, if we have more distraction, we cannot sleep. Even if we sleep, we didn't get really good rest. In the same way, more the distraction, we have less able to rest into the clear light meditation. So basically, because of the less distraction and awareness of the process, pay attention, and somehow the process takes without the distractions fear. So there's a deep rest. Same like a sleep. We can fall asleep, but very light sleep. And as a result, we don't feel really rested. So in the fundamentally, we're not really resting somehow still. So I think do we need to again noticing all the process? I'm not sure. Is it? If you not whole process, that's fine. I think it's good, but I think it's not necessarily for clear light meditation. It's a mandatory. Like for example, like somebody in a Christian faith, he or she, in a time of the death, tremendous faith into the God, and not get distracted with the surrounding world. Have a full opportunity for resting into the clear light. It is not necessarily intended. You cannot make a plan to. You can rehearsal, but you cannot really plan. You cannot schedule. Okay, 12:30, I'll do clear light meditation. No, we cannot plan. So basically, the time of that's something that you're going to notice. So this kind of like non getting distracted. So that's kind of looks like a fundamental, and that thoughts, our mind take off from the distraction by abiding into the devotion and faith, and same thing in any tradition. So, and that, like clear light meditation, do you have to be Buddhist? I don't think so. From my point of view, I may be wrong, because what I see is it is a journey. It is a journey. It is a journey, but individual can take that clear light meditation into the many different layers within the clear light meditation in time of the death. It can take many different layers, yes, possibility, based on your own training and based on your own imprint, many different layers, yes. But as a general, basically that route is a karmic route. It's not Buddhist route. It is a karmic route from the Buddhist point of view. Everybody will go through that, regardless. Our our function of our brains, kind of stops. Due to that, our certain level of our function of awareness kind of dissolves. Okay, so that's this is kind of like basically. So therefore, sometime in a Buddhist practitioner, in advanced practitioners, they time of that as a second chance for liberation. Okay, while I'm alive, I have too many things to do, I have a job, things to do, well, I will prepare for my second parachute when I'm done with that. The first parachute didn't pull it out, there's no time, there's too many things to do, but then make sure I'll open up the second parachute. So there's a lot of, like for example, in Buddhist, like advanced sadhanas and practice, it's much more kind of a rehearsal of a process. And what they do, what's the actual essential training is somehow that notion somehow kind of by nature or by practice, somehow you have to let go to doing in that rehearsal. So it puts you some kind of like almost like a free ride meditation into the emptiness. Karmic ride to meditation of emptiness. Usually meditation of emptiness, that you're trying to kind of understand, you're trying to kind of like educate, you're trying to kind of orient it, and it's all this kind of effort. And the clear light awareness is effortless. It's just, like for example, our usual mind is so much required to training for concentration. Build up that kind of strength. The conventional awakening mind. Now, there's a dream mind, dream state of awareness. It's by nature of that consciousness naturally have a tremendous concentration. It just focuses very naturally. It doesn't. Whatever its focus takes, it takes very strong. It's by nature. It is a kind of like a quality of a focus. It's by nature. It's not by training. Therefore, sometimes in the Tibetan Buddhist practice training, this dream yoga and trying to. Basically, practitioners what trying to do is why I use this application which works so slowly? Why I use this computer works so slowly and doesn't work and doesn't run? If I have access in a much more better memory, better working, it's the same way the meditators. Okay, this mind is too crazy, it's to manage, too complicated, and I'm on top of that trying to put all my practice to run through this complicated mind. This conventional. So practitioners are really trying to get access how I can use dream state of awareness. And they have a naturally certain. It is a basically quality of the concentration is very strong, and it is a much more deeper level of working through your awareness. It's not onto the surface. Our general usual consciousness, when we say mindfulness, we are really trying to deal with the surface, that turbulence to get and trying to get it. So in the depth, it is still kind of having worked it. So an individual trying to work into the dream state of awareness, this is really into the depth, trying to creating that quality. So in a Buddhist philosophy, basically, it's like our mind that we have is only 20% is working, the rest of the 80% is asleep. Same like a scientific, there's a brain, what we have like, how many percentage is working, rest of doing nothing? So something similar like that.
95 to 5.
Huh?
95 is asleep.
95 is asleep, okay. So maybe from the from the Buddhist idea of a mind, maybe there's this it's divided into three categories: grossest mind, subtle mind, extreme subtle mind. So maybe that the rest of the mind, you need to divide the brain function. Maybe have to divide it to those things. So anyway, this is now it's not only kind of Buddhist philosophical thinking how the mind is working without, but also like today's scientists. I saw one. It's interesting the ancient Nalanda study. They're like, how's possible this future life? Like there's this. It's not. Of course, the culture and tradition at that time, maybe everybody's believing in existence of a past life and future life. But when you're trying to look through the logic systems, where are we going to start? Where we start this logic discussion? And also they started logic discussion is the time of death or time of birth. That's a natural. Also in today's study, their consciousness study, and particularly they also lost into the death. People who die in out-of-body experience. Lots of this. So I saw in one national television, one doctor. He says he's not comfortable the legal and medical decision of a death, but he don't have another option. So he's not totally comfortable with the medical and legal decisions saying now this person is to die. Brain death or whatever, clinical death, whatever. For him, he says, he's not comfortable. They're not comfortable because there's so many research and some things makes him maybe he's still in some process. So, but he don't have another option to say, hey, here's the death happening. They're not just basically scientists or just observing, data collecting, researching, the same system. There's nothing even influence, but basic things looking into the data and research. So this is interesting. And then I think University of Wisconsin have this neuroscientist Richard Davidson. I think now there's a slowly effort to how to do research into a clear light meditation. I think it's complicated because we don't want to disturb that. But then on top of you trying to put all that, that monitoring things, it becomes complicated. But in India, I think one time there's a small kind of gadgets, who's kind of like not advanced level, and I think they left with his illness, and then there's one master, one former Gandhian Tibetan, he passed away. I think he stayed clear light meditation for 2 weeks or something, without smell and all, not rotting his flesh, and no smell. And it is South India is a very tropical place. So I think they sent some Indian scientists, and I think one is always mentioned, there's something that they found some kind of movement, but still is very early stage. I don't know how to. There will be some gadgets we're going to detect clear light. I'm not sure. Maybe possibilities there, but I'm not sure. So basically, it is so basically, whole Buddha's teaching and the practice, somehow they're saying, okay, we all have this consciousness. We're kind of collaborating, working with our neurons in the brain. Okay, so working. And so, what is the enlightenment? What is the realization? What is the enlightenment? Basically, I think this concept of awakening, and I think awakening the entire grossest mind, subtle mind, extreme subtle mind. I think that's basically activating all the awareness is defining as enlightenment. Right now we are unenlightened even the sutras, the awakened one. We are not awakening one because only 10% is the rest of the sleep. even when we talk from the scientific physical brain point of view, so all this concept of enlightenment is the project of enlightenment. Let me put it this way: it's my project of enlightenment. I need to plan this one. This is a 5-year plan. This is a 20-year plan. It's basically, we need to say, this whole thing is trying to awakening the treasure that we carry within our own self. That basically, that treasure of awareness, which right now we have lots of limitation. It's vulnerable. Limitation and vulnerable. So basically, awakening one, fearless, and this whole kind of beautiful expressions is basically, if we just function into this grosso state of a mind, fearlessness, it is I don't know, not possibility. Possibility, byproduct. If you're running this based on this kind of platform, yes, things are going to grow, things get slow. Yeah, we cannot expect, because the condition is something like that. So it's basically, and okay, if we say there's these 3 layers of awareness, we are only functioning the surface. How to get to activate the rest of things? I think we just wait, or we just kind of naturally happens, or through meditation, or through what? Which is the icebreaker? I say this, icebreaker. This. So I think this encouraging of this meditation of emptiness, wisdom meditation within the 6 paramita. Within the 6 paramita, the wisdom paramita is almost this icebreaker that really how this work is. Basically de-escalating the reaction of a karma. Let me put it this way: the meditation of emptiness, de-escalating the reaction of our own karma. It is not necessarily trying to building new things. It's not necessarily bringing something new thing in. It is just maybe more to say it is a taking out. there's too many things there. So we need to space. It's much more deleting than downloading. In the meditation of emptiness, it is basically it's a deleting. It's not trying to. I don't know. Sometimes meditation of emptiness is, wow, I discovered something. I'm not sure it is a. I used to tell you, once the individual person realizes meditation, will get so disappointed. I think. Then maybe someday, I wish I haven't realized meditation. I can stay with that dream, that fiction stories. I can stay in that one. So realizing meditation gets to. I think that it's naturally. You're suddenly you caught in you. Kind of like I'm kind of believing in this story, and I invested and it, I think it get tremendous frustration. I think it's natural. You feel traded, you feel wasted, you feel like all kinds of things, and because of that, not only you and surrounding, and then. We all kind of went through this naturally empathy. Even rather than, okay, now I discovered something, I want to don't want to share, or maybe I'll look at when I can publish. I think there's a lot of, I think, sometimes they say, oh, ha, meditation. I usually say it's not hard, it is like, it was like I said. Sometimes when you hit the hand like this. Huh? Yeah,
Jewish tradition.
Yeah, like, oh my God. maybe like, I don't think so. It's something discovered. Sometimes also meditation and emptiness. It's not to discover, it's the way to respond. The way how you respond is nothing. It's nothing to discover. Yes, there's a misunderstanding. Yes. There's a misperception. Yes. So anyway, so basically, how we get into treasure of awareness that we have, so-called clear light, the mind that have basically it's saying like a tremendous potential. Basically, I think, like if this gross mind that right now how we function, the effort of this, sometimes in a computer you say like today's computers can do million times better than the earliest computer, like it's like because it can have the processing information and it's get like many power behind. So like it's almost, we can see that today's mind, this conventional mind, is almost like this early computer is IBM. That's like this kind of like a big taking and working, processing everything's very slowly. Okay. So almost from the Buddhist philosophy point of view, saying like, hey, you have this computer, this mind, have a million terabyte memory its capability and process information, spontaneous, like this omniscient mind. We're going to say this enlightened mind, this omniscient mind is basically supercomputer. I'm going to say like something have a spontaneously. So that kind, anyway, our mind basically saying this grossest mind and subtle mind and the clear light mind. So basically it's kind of like giving us kind of roughly map 3 layers, and meditation and emptiness is not so much about, it's not meant to taking care this grossest mind. We can get on the way benefit, yes, some way to kind of settle it. But if we think the mindset, our mindset to practice in meditation, everything is all about taking care this grossest mind, then we lost the point. Because the more the treasure within our own self, the mind that have a quality and the potential, then it's meant to go that direction, to awaken the subtle mind and extreme subtle mind. And so basically project of enlightenment is basically this to awakening our clear light mind. So basically that looks like the orientation for enlightenment. It is not so much that you are going to reborn in something, it is awakening our own clear light mind and making functional, activating, and that's the enlightenment, that's the Buddhahood. And so we can, whatever we're going to call nirvana or Buddhahood or anything. So that's the kind of, so that was a kind of like a, so now the main issue comes up like how, okay, it looks like a good, it looks like good news. Oh, okay, then like, how I know these whole layers exist and how individual can be trained. So, like even for the when we kind of reflecting into, okay, we as the individual person, there's this awakening state of a mind, the grossest mind have lots of limitation, and everything need to be run through pretty much through logic and reasons. Is still good, and the faith becomes sometimes much more extreme. There's a kind of like a lot of assistance required for this mind to function, and sometimes it's complicated, it becomes political, it goes like with my own, this is what I want. There's lots of sometimes I feel like all the delusions are like the parliament of then they're starting to fight. So anyway, this grossest mind is okay. So how individuals to get this kind of like a not just theory but orientation, like how we so usually they say nitu iseva, milam iseva, situ iseva. So sometimes they look at within the 24 hour, there's like a time of awake, time of sleep, time of a dream. So you see kind of layers within the 24 hour. We kind of go through kind of like a state of awareness, very gross, very kind of a gross level, like very much depending into the logic and reasons and some kind of afflictions. So then there is a state of mind that somehow naturally, so basically our state of mind within the 24 hours is grosses and subtleties just going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So there is a natural within the 24 hours taking this fluctuation of a state of a mind, come to very gross level, go to very subtle, relatively subtle. So there's a fluctuations constantly happening. So okay, the bigger picture, subtle mind, extreme subtle mind, clear light mind, there's all that things. But somehow to finding within our own some way to kind of like get that taste is being awareness of that kind of fluctuation of our state of awareness and the nature of mind. So there is too many interruption to not be able to go through this process and not able to pay attention, not able to be consistent. So I would say long-term solution in the Prajnaparamita Sutra, the meditation of emptiness will be the long-term solution to not have any kind of interference and mind to able to not to fall into reactive state and able to pay attention and able to go through the process, able to be awareness of the process. This meditation of emptiness is not, sometimes we saw meditation emptiness is the most essential one. No, it is a supporting condition. This is just the medicine. It is not our own body. It's just the medicine which is really trying to prevent from the challenge or healing from the challenge. So we need to kind of orient it. What we are really trying to do is to have a clear state of awareness, a pure state of awareness. Awareness that ideally not to get influenced by our own ego grasping. So what we are trying to do is the meditation of emptiness is basically to prevent. It's not to discover, it's to prevent, to correct, to educate, and not to get involved into these things. And then through that, it allows the space. There's less interference, and it allows the space for us to experience the pure state of our mind. So that's, I think, fundamentally We need to see, sometimes we say meditation and emptiness, almost we see like the key subject. This kind of like focus. This is condition to improve our state of awareness, pure state of awareness. Okay? So now, okay, then what? If I get my old clear light state of mind, and then what? Even when you look at that far, we call enlightened power. Okay, enlightened power. There's let me like analogy. You can have this kind of what you call this crane, with the construction place. You got a crane, and these cranes are powerful, strong, powerful things to lift it. They have all the potential, but it had to have that hook, isn't it? Okay, so the crane is everything's. The engine, the horsepower, everything's really perfect. But if they're missing the hook, it even cannot lift one cup. You can have like 1,000 horsepower. It's up there and everything's ready. That the trained operator and everything. But if that it's just the hook, it cannot lift even one single, baggage. Now, okay. Now let's imagine the crane is strong and perfect and everything. I think the reason is Seattle, some crane fell down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, two of them actually.
It's just like an accident. It's wind. It's wind created. Yeah. So now. The analogy, the crane and everything have a perfect out the hook and everything's already perfect. It has full power, it's ready to go. But the load, it don't have the hook, it cannot do anything. Whatever need to pick it up, if that load don't have the hook, what's called yoga, is that? What you call? The yoga.
Hook works.
Huh?
Hook works.
Hook works, okay. If you don't have that,
each side.
Yeah, it cannot really do anything. Anything. Okay. So enlightenment as this crane which have a perfect power of perfect everything. Okay. You have a power, yes, it can do many things, yes, we can say that it is a tremendous. But sentient being, it's basically enlightenment is the sentient. There's a statement by Shantideva saying enlightenment and the sentient enlightened. I think the potential and power and the sentient beings karmic potential and power. It's kind of put into the equal kind of things. This kind of and basically you need to have some kind of collaboration to function. Is not by function by its own. There's no kind of like a one-way kind of dictated style about there's no such a thing. It's all the interdependent kind of like a collaboration. So enlightenment again. The misunderstanding what we created, sometimes we projected this kind of misperception to somehow once enlightened all this power, so there's some kind of like a independent power, as we call it, the independent power. There's no such a thing as exist. Okay, so again, basically, enlightenment maybe makes more openness for sentient beings' karma. Sentient beings' karma is much more openness towards to the enlightened energy or enlightened. So maybe much more openness. It is, somehow the enlightened energy or enlightened potential power will have a more opportunity or more to sentient beings' karma. It's a more kind of by nature. Maybe that's kind of like we can put together. So anyway, that's too far right now. Maybe not. Right now, basically, what we can bring and benefit is as if we look at the now, what benefit and positive impact we can bring now is basically similarly in a different scale, but it's a kind of similarly that due to meditation of emptiness, our reactive awareness will come down. Due to power of that clarity of awareness, we can create it much more openness for karma around us. That's kind of like an immediate. Due to lack of meditation of emptiness, we are all the time kind of like almost like let's make it like a magnet that push another way. What you call that? Magnet. One part of magnet it attracts one.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Two magnet have two sides. One side is just
One's positive, one's negative.
Positive.
positive, negative. We say that one
Yeah.
just throw out. So the more the grasping, I think we are almost creating that kind of magnet that everything we are pushing out. Everything kind of we're pushing. The karma we're pushing. Meditation of emptiness, that clearly the magnet that all attracts, that kind of like it brings into that. So I think enlightenment is a long kind of way to look at it. But what due to meditation of emptiness, what is now, I think there's this kind of like a natural friendliness, and this is something. It's interesting. When his sons came to Portland, and I met one professor from one university, and he was just kind of so surprised. He was so surprised. He had like teenager daughter, and she asked. Usually, she wants to go to. He told me Lady Gaga's concert, not Dalai Lama's talk. When teenagers wants to go to listen to Dalai Lama talk, he was so surprised. He was like, what is this? Like a tremendous kind of like his smile was a blow up, and he wants to understand why. This is his teenager daughter is not usually like this, go to only music concert or something, but like listen to Dalai Lama's talk, and it was like mind blow up. It's mind blow up. So like then, because he's kind of like a scientific mind, he wants to find some explanation. Why? And we have a long discussion. He is very genuinely. He's like really. I don't think like it's like why he was like so, and I asked, did you ask her like why she wants to go? But what I feel, those great masters, basically. This like a friendship is kind of strange way to use it. Basically, we human require. We are lack of trust, and whom to trust. We are, when there's a trust, even a small dosage of trust is so much nurturing in our life. So our trust is a kind of like, I say, trust division. Trust is so much interfered and destroyed by all the fears and all the afflictions that standard things. So I feel when individual person not caught into the state of a fear, and there's a natural state of some kind of like a trust, I think that's creates kind of like a naturally openness. So meditation of emptiness, I mean, like this kind of like a basically genuine state of awareness. Like when we talk like a subtle mind and extreme subtle mind, basically mind that have no agenda. Now, our discourses minds, plenty agenda. Everything's is what we call today's Trump's the quid pro quo. Everything's a quid pro quo. So it's so much motivation driven. It is so basically the function of awareness and the interaction of awareness is not spontaneity. It is so much intention driven. Intention is also important, but at the same time, it's like I said, blessing and curse both. It's a both. So it is a complex. So I think that, generally, I think what we need to see as like a meditation and emptiness as a medicine, not the actual person. So here, it is a medicine preventing. What there's two? Do you say this kind of two-time medicine prevention and
treatment?
Huh?
Treatment.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I think. So ultimately, basically, this whole, I think we need to kind of mindset, this whole thing is to kind of a healthy state of awareness to bring. So this whole thing, what we're doing, meditation or our daily practice, is to bring that. So this kind of like orientation, I think, is important. Otherwise, we feel we're doing something for Buddha or doing something for Dharma, or even in Tibetan we have sometimes expressing. Okay, there's like Buddha. If it really bothers for you, I can stop creating negativity karma. Basically, it's kind of like a joke, hitting kind of point. Is not benefit for a Buddha, is your own responsibility. But there's a way of saying, because we behave almost that way. It looks like something you get benefit, so I can, it's not my benefit, it's your benefit that I practice and I get creating good karma. Sounds like where you teach, it sounds like you might have something benefit from that. So I think in lots of time it is not for Buddha, it's not for Dharma, it's not for Sangha, it's for Buddha, Dharma, Sangha is like a condition and things that can make our own self much more healthy and stronger. So that's, I think, the fundamental. Okay. So I feel it's very important that if you say, okay, if that is the case, okay, our journey to awakening and keeping our awareness in healthy and all that things, what will be our practice? What will be our journey? I think lots of non-reactive. Lots of non-reactive. Practice of non-reactive, maybe. Practice of non-reactive. We are reactive, creating reaction, kind of. So lots of our meditation and our practice, I feel at the beginning much more spending into the non-reactive, but then there's some prayer and inspiration you're adding just to keep that inspiration. But the action itself is abiding into the non-reactive state of awareness. Basically, it basically puts you much more state of a mind of a fearlessness, basically. Okay. We are not feeding the fear mind, basically. So it looks like a practice is not feeding the fear. Not too much complicated. What is my sadhana? My sadhana is not to feed the fear. So that's maybe I think this is sometimes what's happening is we get distracted. Our practice to have a distraction from the fear. Too much fear is too much, so I need some distraction. Let's do my sadhana. And we have all sadhana you're reading just to get a break from the fear. Yeah, it's just break. It's just break. It's just break. So we have to have a sadhana not taking a break from the fear, but we have the sadhana that's stop feeding the fear. So, and that sadhana, what we're doing, can become practice of not feeding this fear itself. So again, the mindset is, I think, is really important in the meditation and everything. The way you see, where you put together, where you're looking. If we a little bit kind of misunderstood, then it becomes like you're doing for Buddha, you're doing for Dharma, and the practice becomes, so because of this challenge, in the practice, our daily meditation is just to escape from the fear. Our daily meditation becomes just to escape. And, how far are we going to escape? Then we get tired one time. By the time, then the practice itself becomes kind of burden because they keep escaping. So really, I think it's important to finding how to not to. Maybe we should have one sadhana says the title is Mahayana practice of not feeding fear. Something fancy with a kind of if we have a mindset like that, I think lots of journey can be less misunderstood. Like for example, meditation. We have many different way of understanding meditation. Or it's just concentration, or it's not just concentration. It's thinking. No, stop thinking. In meditation, you cannot think. If you don't think, how we can stop thinking? It's completely. So even in meditation, then we try to apply. Here we're trying to do so many ways to understand meditation and this instruction. Then this mountain climber or rock climber thinks, I have a perfect experience of a meditation. So I think there's a lot of things to learn. People who are in the nature and a simple state of awareness, and they have this tremendous benefit. Even walking in the nature, there's many different ways to understand. There's lots of examples in our life. What is meditation? Yeah. I have one or two students there all the time. They're tired, are going to go weekend to rock climbing, and they'll come back. It's like perfect meditation. Yeah. And then I think I watched one documentary of this young guy, this rock climber.
Oh, that's one.
Yeah, and it's amazing, it's climbing without any kind of rope. And, yeah, it's so. Yeah, I mean, so now. Some people may think he's crazy. Why you do that? I remember one time in Nepal, my father he was sick and he was kind of, and just to his mind to get distracted, open the YouTube channel, and there's this in Spain, they run in front of the bulls. Then everybody's running. And I show him this, he said, they all are crazy, they get hurt, they can get hurt. And then it's getting him stressed, people they're becoming stupid, and he thinks like, why are they going to hurt? Why are they doing that? He's like yelling, and it's like so. So I think it's what you call the adrenaline rush. The adrenaline. So I think a person who's doing that, with the young guy, he gets this and maybe what you call this that makes you happy, the hormone that
Endorphin.
huh?
Endorphins.
Dopamine.
Dopamine.
Happy hormone. The dopamine. The dopamine.
Neurotransmitter.
Neurotransmitter, yeah. Maybe. So meditator maybe have to have the same adrenaline rush. Adrenaline. If meditator don't have adrenaline, then its meditation becomes like a really kind of hard job. So again here, I think basically that person is a focus, yes. Who's climbing, who's like a really, he's prior to the documentary, prior to flying, he goes through visualization, they go through all this map and study and all that kind of basic, wisdom of understanding. Within the three wisdom of understanding, he goes through all the mapping and everything. And he's scared, yeah, I'm really scared. He's really scared, yes, he's scared, yeah, it can happen. Then I think he do some visualization, then not only map, then as going through kind of like contemplating, the rock climbing, just kind of like go through all the kind of like, he cannot have a paper to look at once he's up in the rock. So it's kind of general overviewing contemplation. Now, once the meditation, actual wisdom meditation, when he's on the rock, you have a very simple state of mind. Very simple state of mind. Is a focus? Yes. Is he assessing? Yes. He's assessing, he's focus, he's assessing, focus. His assessment keeps the focus live. His focus keeps his assessments very practical. So, yeah, I think adrenaline rush comes once the focus and assessments collaborate. It's not just a focus, just stiff. Then you get tired, staring into one. So, meditation, when it's really, I feel like you have to have this, not overdone, individually perfectly done between the focus and assessment. Basically, analyzing and the focus, collaboration. I think that makes the adrenaline rush. Maybe, I don't know. This is just, I think, because it really, just focus doesn't really move forward. You cannot be just focus, because you cannot keep the just focus without assessment, without there is something driven, without there is these subtle assessments. And if you're trying to do overly assessments, yeah, you end up in fear. You don't do any assessments, you're kind of stiff. So it's same like in a meditation, you have to, the danger, our habit is the minute we think about assessment, we have a habit of overdoing, and that's the perfect condition to inviting fear. Boom, fear comes and everything's ruined. So balance, that's, so maybe for him, this young fellow getting really good at it, somehow karmically or naturally, he was able to keep the assessment and focus into the right dosage process. There he can able to move naturally. It becomes a natural platform. So ultimate journey for enlightenment, maybe we need to finding this perfect balance, not overdoing, not underdoing, in the journey of our awareness. Somehow it keeps these two good balance. And then, like we can break the ice and get there. So when you say meditation, it's very important having these two components. It's not all about just focus. Just focus into something. Just focus in something. I think mind is not designed to just to do that. Just like you can kind of for a moment, yes, you can have for a few moments, and then to have that flow, to have the flow of the concentration, ingredient require of assessment. Otherwise, it's just kind of like yes. If you don't have that ingredient of assessment, that wisdom or just kind of focus, it pretty much lead you to sinking. And basically somehow, sometimes you just kind of, then you fall asleep. And then what happening is sometimes, lots of time when you do commitment and you're coming and doing this, then you finish to fall asleep. One time in Iceland, I was giving one talk. So then the next day, my friend, they took me to tour. So I was going down one bus station, and then I met something. Hey, yesterday or last night, your talk was so nice. And I said, I'll fall asleep. It's so nice, so relaxed, and fall asleep. I think it's a genuine, because I think that session maybe relaxed him and he fell asleep. He felt really good, fresh. It's not so much about the subject itself, but the whole thing kind of he said, I was so good last night. Then I fall asleep. I wasn't offended, but the way you put together is kind of like funny. So the challenge is, again, we are not able to keep, so meditation of emptiness is a really kind of purification rather than, I'll say, on the way it accumulates strength, yes, but actually, journey for enlightenment maybe must be much more is undoing rather than redoing something. Maybe it's, it's lots of deleting, not so much copy and paste. So maybe more purification. So meditation of emptiness is a much more. It is purifying our awareness, habit. How we deal with the habit. Immediate this big kind of like very loud reaction. Yeah, they are kind of noisy, but the danger is the habit, and habit that really keep alive a reaction. So ultimately, I think when we do our daily practice, I think we need to repraise this practice I'm doing to purpose of benefit and enlightenment. This usually, maybe we repraise to overcome my habit. Then habit that interferes to benefiting all sentient beings. So maybe because sometimes these praise, I feel something missing, and that although it is included but not stating clear, we might miss, and then there's this kind of like big gap. Yes, I accept it. Yes, I accept it, but there's nothing put on front of us, and that we can put hands on. So ultimately, I think the habit and habits of habits, and I mean like the project of enlightenment is to undoing the habit. In a philosophical and a classical terminology, we call pakcha, imprint, or seeds, or imprints, and these are kind of like a cognitive obscuration. Enlightenment is defined through the two types of obscuration: cognitive obscuration and afflictive obscuration. And the habits are considered as a cognitive obscuration. So, so sometimes I feel sometimes we are too rushed to cultivating bodhicitta. To rush to maybe yes, it feels good, yes, but I'm not sure. Maybe we deserved once a week cultivating loving kindness through the preparation of a certain level of meditation, of a non-reactive into the grasping, and then we are really right condition now. Okay, Friday morning, maybe not daily basis, otherwise your meditation and compassion becomes so cheap. You do it every day. Maybe kind of you earned it. You kind of went through ego reaction, ego habit. You kind of dissolved. And the Friday morning, then you okay. This is now today my really decent and genuine loving kindness meditation. I'm really qualified. Okay. Then again Monday, again ego, like habit. You kind of deserve. Then Friday morning, you really. Same thing like what you call like, sometimes you want a treat. Now I deserve this treat. So if you have an everyday treat, then it doesn't, because loving kindness is supposed to be our spiritual treat. And so maybe to qualify, to deserve that treat, maybe there's if you have a chocolate every day and ice cream every day, And anyway, I think this kind of style maybe is a better practical rather than, sometimes in the practice you have everything, meditation, everything is, and I'm not sure, like maybe like a medicine, you prepare for the next medicine. You make your immune system to really able to digest the next medicine, rather than giving entire medicines one time. So having that kind of structure. And maybe once right now I'm going to meditate in enlightenment. First I'm going to do that. I'll prepare for that. I'm preparing for bodhicitta. I'm preparing my meditation for bodhicitta. Maybe my bodhicitta actual meditation with the celebration happens end of this month or something like that. Otherwise enlightenment, it becomes really vague, and it becomes kind of culture, it becomes kind of recitation, it becomes kind of word, and there's no truth. So if you go through as an individual, okay, yeah, I'm qualified to express enlightenment. Yes, this is, I taste it. At least I get some taste, and then based on that, yeah, I can reflect it. So I think more structuring and more preparation, will be, kind of better way to kind of navigating the path. Sometimes we have so much access for everything now, and maybe we took everything so granted, and not prepared, and not planned, not prepared. I think it's a really one thing I really like. Western education, academic style of education, at least there's some plan. There's some plan. This is going to read, and this is what you're going to read, and this is what we want to see. And this is some map. Of course, that map can go clear more space, but having a map is really beautiful. Not just the schedule. Sometimes in the East, when I watch the education so much, I feel like more scheduled rather than basis of a plan. Plan have a more way to actualizing the schedule. So I think this was, I felt, when people were working there, I felt like that, wow, that's very interesting, that's really good, yeah, that's really wonderful, we should implement into the, having plan. So basically, what will be planned for meditation of emptiness? I think we should, we need to. I think not necessarily. Sometimes we want to have a universal plan, but I think no. We need. I think it's very important individually adapting our own plan. I think sometimes in the education, sometimes today world we get so lazy, and we want to all the time, because we are spoiled by this smartphone having this app. App does everything for you. So everything we are treating, everything is fault. It does it for you. There's no effort to adapt, assess, and trying to, sometimes in the ritual classroom, which tell us how to do the ritual. And in my mind, I don't know. It depends every day. It depends the audience. It depends on the timing. It depends on you have to take so many assess. You need to assess everything. It's not like a pre-prepared, ready-made. You cannot run ritual into a ready-made format. There's some level of ready-made, but you cannot run in based on it. Like an app is a ready-made. You just hit it on and then it will do it. So our meditation, our education, our life, it cannot run based on a kind of app kind of style. It needs to be run to assessments and adaptation and that kind of thing. So my point is when I say like a proactively involving into the meditation, sometimes guided meditation, and sometimes I do guided meditation. Maybe some of the students, Rinpoche, please keep quiet. Some of guided meditation can be annoying. Like, can you keep quiet? Or we can meditate. One student they told like, also guiding. Sometimes we do a little bit guiding, and so one time, the student evaluation, and then, they're getting like kind of like settling and getting better. Then I say something, and they destroyed everything. So they also need to keep quiet. It's a complicated, like guided meditations. Sometimes guided meditations, maybe it's this kind of app mentality, like just somebody tells you to do that, and you're not trying to proactively engage in. Sometimes it's best to, at the beginning, give the instruction, this is the house going, okay, now you need to run the things, not like somebody's telling, okay, now you do. Yeah, sometimes they're annoying, Please, please, can you keep quiet? So anyway, just for like a short period, for just temporarily, guided meditation is fine. Relying in a guided meditation is like relying into the apps. Now there's lots of meditation on the apps, on the smartphone. It's interesting. In the Tibet, early time, they carry what we call cow, means there's one thing, there's always small altar they carry themselves all the time. Very important, that part. Almost like now the smartphone and the iTablet is, because I have so many my texts, and this kind of like it's a holy iPad. So, but at the same time now like okay, I cannot do emails and all my usual stuff. So I was thinking I'd have two iPads slowly to get. I cannot mix these two. Like early time, there's one of my friends. And it's Tibetan, so we brought him here, and it's the Tibetan kids, and suddenly he's, okay, come here, I'll give you a blessing. And he took his iPad and gave it. Usually you do the text, and and he's like, hey, what you doing? You're giving iPad. He said, I have so many texts in here. iPad's a blessing. Yeah, it's like then like in iPad you can have all the ritual items. Like you can have a bhaja, you can have a bell, you can have a damaru. Maybe in the future, damaru pressing the bells. Yeah, this is. There's one story in monastery in India. This phone, when the cell phone first came, and everybody thought it was really wonderful, so that was a communication, it was really good. Just simple cell phone, you just dial and call. So that the information is able to get, because sometimes knowledge is so big, information not able to complicate, so it's very easy, so good. And several years later, then it started having recording inside, the camera inside, it's getting more and more, so monasteries said, okay, we have to have some regulation for that. and technology is moving so fast. So monastery, I heard that one time they said, okay, you cannot have a cell phone with a camera. It's a bandit. When the monastery monks, they can have a cell phone without camera. It's okay. Cell phone with the camera, they're bandit. So okay, this rule, okay, so they follow a little bit. But then later on, you cannot find any cell phone without camera. So what happened is like in the usual early time when I travel, I take the tags and everything in a traditional way, just kind of, and that makes your luggage also more bigger. You carry too many tags, and then. Now iPad is the holy iPad. It saves lots of space. Okay. Sorry, just kind of blah blah blah. I'm just wondering, like, any questions or something that's we have some time it's a meter. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you started off about your teacher dying, and it led me to think about dying, and he basically said, what did you say, 2 weeks or something, where he was laying there doing his meditation. And I assume that that is a conscious practice that he's doing, but you said it's also the karmic. So I'm just envisioning what it would be like, that it's kind of a luxury to have a death where in which you would be able to be coherent enough to do this clear light at that point in time. Is it just your karma that would dictate whether or not it's the case, or is it possible, even though you might not be coherent, your brain might not be as good, or you might be medicated or whatever, you can ask for no medication, but is there I guess I'm asking if there's a chance, if you don't have a lot of control over what happens, then what loses do we have it? Is there nothing for us?
Yes. Now, that's a really good question. One time there's one teacher in Deer Park, and he had lung cancer. So at the end he passed away through lung cancer. So, lung cancer is so difficult for him. So, like 5 days before, it's getting much more severe for his. So what we did is, okay, so we kind of like discussing, okay, if you just give him morphine all the time to take care of the pain, it looks like just he's like, and that's so we somehow less, because we want to have his clear state of awareness in engaging, and that's really important because it's getting close. So if you're constantly medicating, maybe is bearable, but we need to kind of like make some choice. So at the first we decided, okay, let's morning we do practice for 3 hours. Let's make sure his nighttime morphine effect is gone, and there's some kind of clarity. Let's try that first. Let's at least give him like 3 hours, 4 hours. We practice together. So we did that, and he really kind of responded for that. He really responded. And after 3 hours, 4 hours, then we give him morphine. Just because it's just too difficult to keep his pain low. So we really did that, and the timing of his passing was kind of happened coincidentally or whatever, at exact that timing that he was where he is not giving heavy morphine, and he was alert, and we was doing practice, and we can see his breath is slowly kind of slowing down, and we're doing practice, so we got a little bit tired. We wanted to take a break, and he cannot speak, but his hand gesture is just moving. The minute we try to stop, he's moving his finger. And we took it as like, okay, let's continue. So we took it kind of some took a break and some just continuing there. Then we kept that to take this kind of full opportunity. And then through that, then after like half an hour or something like that, he took his last breath. So it is, I think in his case, he had the orientation, he had the understanding, he saw this as a critical time, and maybe there is a conscious effort to not to react or too much into the pain, and to have that intention to creating that space. So it is a really how we deal with the pain. And now if we translate that into the bigger picture in a life, like how we respond with the pain. Are we very impatient with the pain, or we can develop certain level of patience with the pain? So I think we get so impatient with the pain, maybe we setting some kind of a habit. things are not perfect. Accepting, maybe accepting because maybe there's some kind of patience developed with the pain through certain pain, kind of accepting. I deserve no pain. Sometimes we might hear it like, we don't deserve. I think how the lifestyle we bring it up in a general, how much tolerance we develop related with the pain, how much we are habit. Boom. Okay, is it pain-free zone all the time? We are kind of like that kind of like environment. Yeah. So then it becomes complicated. So I think as a general in the life, there's a certain extent I think we should cultivate, train ourselves to a certain extent. Physical tolerance with the pain, emotional tolerance with the pain. That kind of tolerance, that non-reactive, maybe also made able to have some certain, in a time of a critical time, based on that awareness, maybe that kind of like that kind of space in creating, like in his case, we get, after morning, after 4 hours later, yes, we give him morphine, and that really like falls asleep. So we kind of make that choice, and at least every day he have at that time, and somehow he is managing and holding into that, and so I think so. At the end, it worked very well.
They, when you do your medical, you sign papers about what you want at the end, and they often ask you to sign, do you want pain medicine? Do you want God? And here's my first response, oh yeah. But this is good information to actually prepare for that ahead.
Yeah, I think what will be healthy dying?
Healthy dying?
Yeah, not necessarily I'm saying like physically, but emotionally.
Yeah.
So maybe, physical condition can be really difficult, but emotion in a psychic way, how we can prepare for healthy life. What will be that? How we prepare. So this is, I think, right now, in the world is a simple solution. Okay, no pain. Yeah, so maybe there's area that need to be kind of education and kind of discussed and develop awareness. Doesn't matter. There's a past life, a future life. Doesn't matter. Just that healthy dying. That's kind of like I think not just the death process. Maybe much more in the healthy way to die. How it's not just the person who's going through the journey, but it's require all the environment. How we create this environment. This kind of like discussion and experience and kind of developing more awareness. At least there's this kind of like understanding is a build up. And there's lots of, now this related with the cremation, in France they have a very specific law. The cremation only takes, I think, 90 minutes. Each body has to be standardized 90 minutes, and the temperature of the fire also, certain temperature is standardized. Because for the timing reason, for energy reason, there's many different reasons they cannot go as a wish. So in France they have their own law system that, because of that kind of like a really kind of making that kind of things, the body is not fully. It's not burned. It's not able to burn very strong, very thoroughly. So the French law just then after that goes to the machine grind, and maybe that Yeah, that's the law. Yeah. So, but there's a lots of now. I think it's like a different way of composing. In many different nows, like a this different way of doing. Yeah, it's. It's
Like in India, it's wonderful actually. The family is all there.
yeah. Did you travel Varanasi in that Ganges River? You can see there's all the bodies. But I think healthy living, healthy dying, is all that things. But again, I think it's a really good today's. There's lots of openness for meditation. I think this is and different gadgets can help you. Could be a smartphone helping, guiding. I think it's good. I think it's good. It's good. And yeah. Okay. Then in Tibetan tradition, sometimes they say, okay, when I'm dying, I want this Lama to do me the poa. The poa is transmitting your consciousness to pure light. So like poa with a pure land package together, or which kind of pure land you want poa, like you make a brochure, okay, you have to take this one, I wanted that deluxe poa, which includes pure land together. It becomes like a poa department in part of the this is like a poa is like a culturally and traditionally and religion-wise in Tibetan family, poa is like did you do that poa? Okay, the rest of you can slow down immediately. So poa is you get the poa insurance, really the good poa insurance. So there's I don't know, the poa deal. The poa deal, you make poa deal. That's really, you can stay very relaxed in time of that poa deal. When you have a poa deal, you're taking care of it. Yes, it's interesting. And in Tibet, the early time they lots do this kind of sky barriers and that kind of thing. And then, but who's really kind of, there's a kind of like a person who's a designated, who's kind of look over for this whole kind of sky barrier process. And then he have a kind of like a supporting, this kind of working under him. But this person have to go through power training. It's kind of not just randomly you get that business. You get qualified to have that, not only that business, but that. So that person, the minute the body comes, he will assess did he have any power or not. If there's no power, he will do power immediately on the spot. Just kind of like a part of the practice. He will do power. He's trained person into going through the original, do the power, and then have the sky barrier process. And sometimes, like my uncle, like several years ago, he was in Tibet and he passed away. And my younger brother, who kind of taken care, and he took to do the sky barrier, and he said like the person he observed me and said, yeah, okay, there's no problem. It's a good paw. There's no problem. It's a good paw. Okay, go ahead. So it is.
I watched a sky burial in Tibet.
Yeah.
And they went through the monastery where they first had the blessings. And they did a bunch of people.
Which year you were?
2008.
2008. Okay.
I got very sick since then.
Huh?
I got very sick since then, but because of that. But yeah, it was very interesting. Very interesting.
But so now this power. Again, usually in Tibet, somebody does pour for yourself. Like maybe I think somebody will do pour for yourself. Maybe, of course, there's a kind of like spiritual connection. Maybe having some rehearsal, I think would be good. In case I need to go through some, situation can have many different things, and having that rehearsal, that reminder, and that awareness, that connection is set, that agreement is established. You are fully aware. I think this whole thing is important. Is everything is a cause and connection to it. Particularly time of the death, mind is getting so subtle and less distracted by this, just not by practice, just the condition. If the mind is at that time put in the right direction, even awareness of there is a power. There is a kind of collaboration. There is this kind of like a collaboration of us. The power is just kind of like a small push. Right? And ultimately, you have individual need to lift up. It's like somebody's, when you have a knee problem, somebody's got a slow push. The power is a slow push. You stand up. Ultimately, individuals have to kind of take off. So, I think that kind of like a setting, awareness may be good. It's like a healthy way of dying. When I was thinking, kind of like a preparation. And awareness, support, spiritual support, not as just a prayer and dedication, actual taking for certain extent the journey was a taking. That kind of like all together will be, I think, I think in the ancient time, in early time, maybe something like that. It's like fully aware that Yidans, your own teachers, and all that kind of, So, fundamentally, in general, in a life, how we deal with fear. I was kind of reflecting, should we say samsara, or we just say like, something, just fear. The name of samsara is just fear. Cycle of fear. Because the cyclic existence is a little bit kind of, it's just kind of like, okay. But it doesn't really catch the essence. It's really what you're going round and round is a fear. It's just going round and round. So maybe the fear, basically, while we are alive, how we manage the fear, how we manage the pain. Fear is pain of a psyche. And there's a different pain, conscious pain, psychic pain, and physical pain. So, how we deal with this fear? Are we panicking with the fear? Are we panicking with the pain? I think these things may play a very important role. I'll tell one story and then we'll take a lunch break. I met one Theravadan monk, early time, one conference, and he, in Theravada tradition, mindfulness meditation and part of meditation also is a very strong death meditation. It's a very part of routine. So he's doing, it was just kind of like a commitment. He's doing this meditation, and then one day he sees flying from LA to Hawaii, and the airplane went. Suddenly there's an engine fire. But of course everybody's really, and then he was also at the beginning. He's shocked. And okay, now this is the meditation that I'm doing. Now this is going to happen. So then he's kind of like trying to connect these things and kind of. At the beginning, a little bit kind of like a shocking, but at now the pilot said that we were going to turn back and that things that people. So he felt like a little bit okay, kind of like a little bit he's like settled because of that orientation of all the time remembering, reflecting. Somehow didn't become totally shocking and fear. Doesn't really cut into the too much fear because of the orientation. So then he says, then it somehow luckily able to return back and land it. And before landing, they're all saying like, okay, now you have to watch you sliding from the tube.
Yeah.
And he said it's the first time he'd done in his life sliding on the tube. He never done. It's kind of children. He never done that. And now I had to just okay. He's kind of like this is the first time. So he said he did it. Slided with his robe. Yeah, he said like he wasn't too much panicking. He wasn't like the fear didn't. Initially, yes, there's a natural reaction. Fear came, but somehow he's able to accept, develop certain tolerance. Of course, he's you have a doubt, make it back to airport, land safe. No, yeah, absolutely, you have a doubt. Everybody's doubt. So, but all this uncertainty not necessarily create panicking. So basically, I think like the pain. I think is the main thing. Pain and pain and fear. Okay. Sometimes I see. Like for example, today's in the field, there's a lot of people trying to have fasting practice. Fasting practice, which really becomes healing space. Lots of things can be treated, and also our body have a lot of inflammation. So like one inflammation, one food you send, there's too many inflammation. So I think if we translate that into our own thought and our mind, maybe our thoughts and our conscious awarenesses full of inflamed. This is fully inflamed. Even then, you do Buddhist meditation, it kind of becomes sucked into the inflamed. So I think this kind of like a meditation that's have a simplicity into your meditation. There's this kind of calming. There's nothing particularly you're trying to generate or visualize. Like, for example, if you're doing 40-minute meditation, let me give a 30-minute. Now, Pema, you're going to meditate. So, like, 30 minutes is mostly you invested into a kind of like a calm, non-reactive, non-cultivating. Really trying to basically what's happening is like for example we went to the analogy of rock climbing already. Rock climbing, maybe that person is not to get fault, not fall down, and maybe make a progress. Maybe these as the main assessment, not to get fall down and make a next progress. And then meditation, I think not to fall into the mental sinking and not fall into the mental excitement. So basically, the assessment is only that too. You're not trying to focus into something, and you're not trying to generate something, you're not trying to feel something. Only you're doing is not to fall into mental sinking, not to fall into mental wandering. And that's like the rock climbing is what he's trying to do, is not to fall and make a little bit of progress, catch into the right place. In the same way, just basically practice is keeping into that kind of discipline, not trying to, okay, now what do I do next? No, usually we have this other, what's the next? What's the next? What should I think? What should I analyze? What should I visualize? No, not to fall into mental sinking, not to fall into mental wandering. That's it. So 30 minutes, if you kind of spend into that, really I think it can kind of put down the inflammation of our thoughts and awareness. Kind of like a daily, I say, what's the medicine for inflammation? Honey and ginger. Turmeric,
Yeah.
honey, ginger.
Ginger, cayenne.
Yes, I think daily we have to have some kind of way to reducing the mental inflammation. So otherwise we get like overly addicted and overly, I was talking we have to do everything. The world is all the time full of making everything breaking news. Everything have to be like flashy, and everything have to be kind of overly excited, inflamed. Making that kind of noise. So I think really meditation, as I said earlier, not so much think that I want to feel something positive. I want to feel different. I think this is again adding some kind of spiritual inflammation, divine inflammation into the awareness. So is the really important part is I think there's a total kind of reducing of inflammation of awareness, which is created by clinging and grasping. That's basically. So then at maybe 10 minutes, once there's a calm down, there's a digest, there's some kind of strength. And then there's a short kind of a positive reflection. So majority time, so that kind of a practice, I think is almost usually kind of, adrenal junk.
Adrenaline junkie.
Adrenal junk, mental adrenal junk. We need something to think. We need something to get excited. All the time, and that creates a tremendous inflammation.
Inflammation.
And can we say inflammation can interrupt our circulation?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Functioning. Everything. Yeah.
So one time I thought meditation of emptiness is to getting better circulation of awareness. So due to meditation of emptiness, you kind of basically, as a human health, once we have a good circulation, we have a healthy. The circulation makes everything kind of function better. Fine running, and it functions better, everything once we have a good circulation. So I think the meditation of emptiness is lots of something that cleans up the inflammation and whatever blockage. Basically grasping creates that kind of blockage into the path of awareness. So meditation of emptiness is just kind of a dissolving, kind of cleaning up. What you put, sometimes if people have a heart problem, you put something here.
Well, right. Stents.
But anyways, I'm giving the terrible examples, scary examples. And telling, don't meditate in compassion, only Friday. So I was All of that looks like not fun. Okay, so yeah, this when you're talking about addiction, where we are addicted, not the whole thoughts, not the whole feeling, but there's this kind of like a caffeine, or that rush is created by grasping and clinging. Okay, so anyway, so I will say, usually when I do guided meditation, when they sit down, I will say, don't bring your attention to your breath, because immediately people say, oh, now I'm going to give attention to my breath, and no, don't give any toy first. Trying to cultivate some habit, freedom from any kind of toy. Breath is a toy. It's one kind of toy. It's not danger toy, but it is still toy. Mind can put there. It can help, yes, but I think ultimately self-sufficient, kind of independent. We need to gain to the awareness. So I think, so depending for object, depending for something to concentrate, depending to something to visualize, depending for something, that's really makes, I think, that kind of addiction. You're creating that. So meditate, we have to have a freedom from all the things that we put in. Like for example, sometime I will say like, we do a New Year retreat and you're fasting retreat, and is in kind of like a physical way. Maybe what is that fasting meditation in the mental level? We have to have some kind of fasting, and what we are fasting. Usually fasting retreat, okay, we don't eat lunch, we don't eat dinner, we're not going to speak, we're silent. So what we are going to fast. We should have some kind of fasting meditation, which fasting something. All the expectations, even virtue expectations. Those of having that space, I think and once that inflammation is going down, and then adding that virtue intention, yes, it has a strength. It make a progress, it able to digest. Otherwise, sometimes we have this, I was practicing for 40 years, 50 years. I didn't see any change because everything run through the inflammation. So it's like nothing can digest. So I think we need to, the mindset, how we see, almost we need to observe, like, okay, here, there's no miracle, it is a scientist. Maybe we need to say, sometimes we say prayer, we kind of go out of practical and see like maybe miracle. There's a blessing comes, I receive the blessing, and now everything's taken care. I think we need to treat it exactly like how we treat our body. There's like practical reflection, and the mind also practical reflection. They said, ultimately, this concept of self-discipline, self-discipline, we were talking earlier, there's a plenty plate people are going to give you, make sure we control the spoon. So your spoon is self-discipline, then doesn't matter, there's a buffet of chocolate. It's not the chocolate's problem is having less of self-discipline, your spoon is keep running there and taking, So this is, I think, one thing that also like how much we take, being that kind of like mindfulness. I think this is, sometimes we get caught into the things, and it kind of like kind of gets into there and get kind of interested in it, kind of like energize our own self, and then we get so tired, and then it takes up very hard, and then the sugar energy is finished, and then crash, and then like I'm feeling all the time tired, all the time tired, because totally dehydrated. There's no hydration for the mind. Maybe we can say, what is how we hydrate our awareness? I think that kind of like a non-reactive, once you created this kind of like that, basically not falling into the mental sinking, not falling into the mental wandering. I think that's the method, the practice, the hydrating our consciousness, mind. And that more hydrated our mind, less tired. More hydrated our body, less tired. And emotionally energized, sometimes like, yeah, problem solved? No. Still problems there, exactly. But, we have much more awareness, much more hydrated, and having that energy and strength. So I think, again, I think, basically, daily basis, having that kind of like not putting more things into it, but simplifying. And that at the end you have a really quality reflection into the compassion. So you not overdose loving kindness. Not overdose too many blessings. I mean, so anyway, there are too many, sometimes practice getting too many things going on. And sometimes nothing get kind of digest or kind of like a. So I think the way to prepare, like when I say loving kindness, maybe Monday to Thursday, lots of meditation of emptiness and kind of let going, and then having the Friday is mine now is a compassion meditation. Let's see how it works. Anyway, that kind of like a systematizes something that you build up, and then you kind of like a test. You build up and build up. Method meditations are characteristic. It has its own theme. It has its own emotion. It has its own kind of like a response, human response. And then wisdom meditations, setting the ground. It sets the ground to having that very effectively. So I think, that kind of, because sometimes, even we are sometimes looking for spiritual distraction. Sometimes even looks like sometimes we are looking for spiritual distraction that makes a little bit kind of like a holy distraction. So I think simplifying, that's the key thing. What I think. Maybe you might get a question. In my practice, there's all these things. What should I do? Now, what I encourage is, yes, these are take it as established imprint, and then really where we're going to invest it is these critical points. Preparing, more into the simplifying our thoughts and emotions, practice of let go. These kind of really, basically what I'm saying is putting down all the inflammation, and then you have healthy circulation. On top of that Friday meditation in the loving kindness, yes, it will be perfect. So treating as a medicine, medicine, you don't take everything in one time. Whatever the immediate threat and challenge in the front, taking care of that first. Once we take care of that one and make sure, and then, whatever we need to kind of really healthy enough to get the next treatment. So, same thing in hospital, you have a treatment plan. There's a plan. I think we should have a good plan for everything. Plan looks like really one of the answer if we want to make a progress. At least have a plan, and then even if that's really plan can work. Every plan can work. Welcome to samsara. The plan, not necessarily every plan can work, but at least that is the way we start. That kind of strategizing. And okay, I want to do 3 week. I will. It's kind of like a self. Sometimes what happened, that kind of like a timing and planning and disciplining, that helps to self-discipline basically. When you're having that kind of perspective, it helps you in self-discipline. But I'll invest more energy into this one, 4 week, 5 week. And that's kind of helps us. And ultimately it's the self-discipline. You know, we cannot really control the world. And the healthy way of engaging is only option is the self-discipline. There cannot be perfect world. You know, like for example, climate issue is like yes, only option is all the living beings in the planet have self-discipline is only I think ultimate answer if we're looking theoretically. You know, if we so much go what we wanted. Yeah, yes, that's the way we got until here is we went the attitude of I have a right, I can get what I want now, and this kind of like a mentality kind of like that where we are right now. So I think like yes, I want it now, yes, but I want to discipline. Maybe this is maybe one, you know, like you know. I think that's chocolate cake is good and delicious, but it becomes harming for me once I lose my own self-discipline, not because there is too many sugar there. We blame it because there's too much sugar there. I think ultimate result maybe comes to when I lose my discipline. Yeah, if I doesn't lose my discipline, even there's a chocolate cake that like millions and milligrams of sugar, you're not able to harm me because I can control my spoon. So that's I think like how we can develop that it's like okay, I'll take the right amount. You know, this is really interesting. This is you know, like for me the butter tea is really difficult. I lose my total self-discipline. The butter tea, and I know the consequence. I'll get headache. So maybe we need to come out, you know, how we train self-discipline. You know, like we need to, you know, of course there's a lots of teachings but we need to find it is not there's one path that can really kind of lead to self-discipline. There's so many causes and conditions comes together into the, you know, awareness plays, I think, fundamental role. I remember one time I was flying someplace and the airplane landed so smooth. It's like kind of very noticeable. Like, I kind of like, wow, it's landed like barely noticing it touched the ground. And then we come out, you know, the old passenger. You know, sometimes the captain come out and kind of greeting the passengers, and then told the captain, "We land so well." And he said, like, well, there's so many causes and conditions together. I was trying to give him credit, the whole thing, but his answer was, like, there's so many causes and conditions together. Yeah, maybe he's skilled, but, you know, there's the weather, the wind, there's so many things provide together with that kind of smooth landing. But of course, even you have a perfect condition, if the pilot trying to land, some pilot will land like boom. But at that time, when I told him that I was trying to kind of, his answer was, yeah, he said, like, there's so many causes and conditions together. One time, I think I'm not sure I told that story before. In India, I landed to Delhi early morning, and I changed some money because the next day I'm trying to fly to Kathmandu. So I would buy tickets. So I changed something. Then when I came to the hotel reception and I said I want to buy a ticket, and the things that I changed was not enough to buy the ticket, and I need to change with him. So okay, I'll change. Then we changed some money to cover the flight. Then the exchange rate he gave me lower than what I got in the airport just like half an hour ago. And then I told him like, well, I just got it this much rate from the airport, you're giving me a little low. And then he looked at me and said, world is changing minute by minute. I was in the reception early morning, and I said, okay, good, thank you. Yes, okay, I'll take it. The rates are changing. I mean, like, he meant, but things are going to but I'm not sure that. But anyway, then I said, okay, I'm not going to. Okay. So also, I feel maybe like night before you go, sometime evening you are tired, you say, cannot do meditation, blah, blah, blah. But I think when you're doing your meditation, you have to do kind of straight posture, everything. If you can, okay, but if you cannot, this kind of like just kind of settling, non-reacting, settling your meditation, not having visualization, not kind of cultivating, not kind of reciting, that kind of meditation, still staying stillness for 10 minutes every evening, I think it sounds like at the beginning looks like it requires effort. Maybe I think it's a good way to preparing for meditation for tomorrow. Sometimes I want to start morning session, or my daily commitment where I think preparation should start in night before when you're sleeping. Take one kind of like a discipline. Then you have to take your sleep, that rest, really into as much as possible as a deep rest. And then through that, then will become your morning meditation. If you're trying to go short, not too much. And then I think it may start really better. So I will encourage somehow trying with the evening before you go bed. Having this kind of like, not reciting too much, not visualizing, not reflecting anything. Sometimes purification, you encourage, but purification requires reflection, maybe not doing some kind of like space creating into your own. And that's also helpful for going to sleep. Some kind of like a calm, put all your lights down and like basically, I have to have something, I need to think something, I need to get to distract something. Because usually we look for some refuge immediately. Really kind of giving up any kind of refuge. And really kind of taking some breath, some kind of stretch. And really trying to get into the non-conceptual, kind of going through that. I think this evening stuff, and when the morning everything becomes really good. Okay. Okay, let's stop there.